Hi, I'm Matt Simon, analyst at TABB Group, and I'm joined here today with our senior analyst, Kevin McPartland. Over the last year or two, with everything that went on with the Bear and Lehman debacle, we saw derivatives take a big stance in the whole argument of what should be done and why some of the derivatives caused some of the collapse. Kevin, I have a question for you. What are some of the reasons behind this, and what's some of the things that we're doing in terms of derivative reform to correct some of the situations?
Derivatives reform has taken quite a long road over the last year, starting earlier in the year when multiple bills were written in Congress, both in the House and in the Senate, with some extreme measures at first, some calling for the banning of credit default swaps, also for requirements to essentially clear and electronically trade or exchange trade all OTC derivatives. As we've made some progress through the spring, we saw Congress rein back a little bit and understand that some of these things they were suggesting, the banning of credit default swaps, for example, were not realistic and not good for the market. And as we got along later in the summer, and after the president released his draft legislation, it seemed as if we were getting a little bit closer. However, it's just been announced through a statement from the House of Representatives that it's unlikely that they'll be able to vote on this bill by the end of this year. The president's original goal was to pass this legislation by the end of 2009, and now will be squarely moved into 2010. Now, when we hit 2010, that brings with it some other challenges. First of all, the economy is improving. While generally a good thing for everybody, it takes away the fire that's really pushed Congress to make some of these changes. And secondly, 2010 is an election year, which then will inject even more politics into the process for creating this derivatives legislation, and will likely force a further pullback in the terms, and I think ultimately result in less overall change to the OTC derivatives market that will largely go ahead as it has in the past.
With so many hurdles kind of preventing this reform from getting passed or making any sort of progress, what do you think should be done? Is there any suggestions or anything that we could do to improve or have to not worry about so much about some of the rules that they're looking to pass?
Sure. I think the industry and the major dealers have done a good job over the last year or two at trying to self-regulate by setting certain commitments. For example, about a week or two ago, the major dealers committed to essentially clearing 95% of new CDS trades by the end of October. The clearinghouses have also committed to allowing buy-side clearing, CDS clearing, by the end of 2009. So the industry is seeing that change needs to be made, and they are moving ahead much, much faster than Washington is in terms of making these changes, so we can have transparency where transparency is needed, and reduce counterparty risk, not just through central clearing, but also through standard contracts and other terms that make it a little bit more safe in some ways as to how these contracts are traded, and a little more transparent to the financial industry.
That's great. Well, I'm Matt Simon, analyst with TABB Group. Again, thank you to Kevin for joining us today. Catch us next time on TABB Video.